Today I'll be presenting the critical study of graphical user interface of two grocery online shopping experiences, Woolworths and Harris Farm. The analysis will followed by the user task flow, user emotional journey, and also the Nelson's heuristics of the user interface, as well as the mental model. And then finally, I'll come up with the two design issues I have identified from this study. So to start off with, I'll introduce our first persona, Christine, a 20-year-old young professional who lives in Sydney CBD. She lives a fast-paced lifestyle, so therefore she prefers to shop for immediate consumptions to satisfy her short-term needs. So therefore, her core needs center around personalization, flexibility, and efficiency. So now we will see how she performed her first user activity, returning to an old order on Woolworths interface. So as we can see that she will firstly need to retrieve the information based on purchase history. So when she navigates to that menu, she can only reselect the items individually. But here we can see that all of the items are presented with visual images. So it is very clear to order. And then in comparison for Harris Farm interface, although the user followed the similar process as Woolworths interface, the difference is that when the viewer click on the view, they can only see the items in this format. And if they want to review individual item on the list, they have to click on it, and then there will be individual images of the item being shown. And also the other difference is that you have the option to add all products to the cart instead of adding them one by one. So here we can see that for Kristen's user journey, although she was initially satisfied with the user-friendly interface at the beginning, she was then frustrated when she has to take a long time to retrieve the right information of an old order. So here we can see that when she tried to perform that task, she has experienced functional affordances in her navigation experience due to unclear instructions and hidden information. And now here we will introduce our second persona, Jane, who is a middle-aged housewife of 3 kids living in suburban Brisbane. She is a quite family-orientated person, so therefore different to Kristen, she values long-term planning, and also she has the habit of bulk ordering and stockpiling. So in comparison, her needs would be having a systematic and transparent online shopping experience with clear product categorization. So here we can see that the user task flow is making changes to an order. So similarly, we can see that firstly, the user would review the items already in the cart, and then they proceed to the checkout process. So now from the Woolworths interface, we can see that they have the reminder feature, and also they give you the option to set replacement options for unavailable items or removed throughout the checkout process. However, in comparison, for Harris Farm user task flow, if you want to make changes, the difference is that there is no option to make adjustments once you proceed to the checkout, and you have to go back to the previous step to make any changes to an order. So here we can see that how Jane's experience of this task would be like. So for Jane, although previously she would have a smooth selection process, however, once she proceeds to checkout, she was unaware of information, for example, like delivery fees, purchase limits, and also unavailable items. So therefore, in this case, she would spend more time to find out these necessary informations. And also if she want to make changes to her order, she could not do it throughout the checkout process. And she was frustrated by the lack of flexibility because she has to go back to the previous step for any adjustments. So now we will look at how the two interfaces are different by analyzing the mental model based on Nelson's heuristics. So for Woolworth's interface, if we think of aesthetics and minimalistic design, we can see that the interface is characterized by its clear visual icons, strong headline, visually appealing images, and easy to follow navigation menu. And for user control and freedom, we can see that there are numbered checkout lists, checkout instructions, and also they give you the consistent verification and error prevention procedures throughout the checkout process. So if we look at all of these above design features, they have achieved the outcome, which is making the user recognize all of these icons, and which can effectively guide the users throughout the process. And also they also offer the user a lot of freedom and control in their decision making with the constant verification adjustment features. So this would this would eliminate all of these affordances in the process, and also allow the user to feel more certain when they're making any changes. So we can see that overall, Woolworths has presented a quite recognizable mental model for the user. And then we will look at Harris Farm's mental model. So firstly, in terms of aesthetics and minimalistic design, we can see that although there are identifiable visual icons and symbols, and also with drop-down menus on the interface, in a text-heavy design and quite overloaded, and also it has like a dull color scheme. And then in terms of user control and freedom, there is a lack of flexibility and interactivity in this design system because there is no error prevention features. And also the user has to go back or click on different buttons, so they could not like interact with interface or perform the actions they want to do at the time. So we can see that all of these above design features has resulted in the design outcomes, for example, user control and freedom. Because the lack of interactivity, the user would feel more confused and uncertain when they're making decisions because they do not know what to expect next. So overall, we can see that Harris Farm's interface has depicted a quite non-intuitive mental model for the user. So now here we come to the design conclusion of identify the design issue. So firstly is the constraint in pass orders. So the problem in Woolworths interface is the lack of bulk ordering option and lengthy pass order retrieval process. So in order to solve that, we could maybe make it more accessible and visible by adding all of these options to the system. So this would create a more comprehensive and transparent user experience rather than causing affordances. And another design issue is in the Harris Farm interface, which is the affordances of information overload. So as we have mentioned previously, the text-heavy design has really caused the cognitive and functional affordances in the whole design system. And the user might feel overwhelmed and confused when navigating through this interface. So therefore, the alternative solution would be a visual replacement of the text. So this could give the user the visual cues to guide them through the process. If we compare the two user interface, Woolworths interface is more flexible, whilst Harris Farm interface has more affordances and is less intuitive in its design. So, and we can see that they all have the pre-existing design issues in their system. So therefore, these issues should be considered in future design. Thank you.